Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we have some awesome news. There's some gameplay footage that has been released by the Illuvium team, and I'm going to jump into it and analyze the hell out of it. Okay, this video isn't going to go for too long, so definitely stick around, but I'm definitely going to be analyzing all the different aspects and the things that I know about the game that you guys might not know yet. I'm definitely going to help you guys see that stuff and notice it inside their UI. I might also have a couple of little gripes there, so if you want to hear me rant about weird stuff that makes no sense and has no bearing on the game, then definitely stick around. So I'm not going to go into the intro too deep here. I'm going to jump straight into the gameplay. But first, if you guys like this sort of comment, please leave a comment. Like this sort of content, please leave a comment down below. Definitely let me know. I don't do this sort of stuff often. So if you think I do a good job, if you think I have areas to improve, definitely let me know. But I have some awesome stuff to talk about. Just quickly before I get into it, I do want to talk about some of the specs of the game. This is something that hasn't really been covered a lot, and I want to make sure to get it out there. Firstly, it's work in progress footage. We all know that. I'll obviously leave the link of the video, the YouTube video in my description, but it says work in progress on the YouTube video, so you know that already. The other thing I want to mention is that there are missing features in Illuvials. The most noticeable one is the hyper system. This is the system that if you have a type advantage, say water against fire, then your Illuvials go hyper and get added bonuses and things like that. I'm not going to go too depth into that right now. If you guys want to see a video on that, please let me know. But basically, that's not going to be in this closed beta. It should be available for the open beta and onwards, okay? So in this closed beta, it's not there. So you won't see, I haven't noticed any UI pertaining to something like the hyper system. Although you can see the affinities on both sides, that will definitely play a role down the line, but it is not there yet. The other thing you should know is how this was recorded. This was recorded with OBS Studio on RTX 3080. By the Illuvium team, and that's it. There's been no adjustments or anything. The other big thing to know is this doesn't currently have ray tracing. You can get cinematic footage with ray tracing, but it has not been done for this particular video. So what I'm trying to say is the game will look even better than this in cinematic mode, and it already looks amazing. Unfortunately, I cannot record in 4K. I am not set up for that, so you'll have to deal with my 1920 1080. My 1080p gameplay, but that is okay. The other thing is I believe they limited their gameplay to 60 FPS. So you may be able to go higher for all of you nerds with 144 Hz monitors on your screens, but this was not recorded with 60. This was recorded with 60 FPS. So you may be able to go beyond that. I believe they did that because, firstly, that makes sense for YouTube, and secondly, that makes sense with 4K. But all the other settings are turned up to max, just no ray tracing. And you might be able to record, you might be able to play with ray tracing on, but you might need to like live at NASA and use their computers. I don't know. All right, so without further ado, let's check it out. So I've got the recording here. So I'm just going to hit play and I'll pause it when that makes sense. This is just some of the opening menus. These will not look the same when you get into it. These are a little bit buggy. The gameplay isn't buggy from what I've seen. Maybe you guys have noticed something more. These menus are a little bit buggy and a bit haven't quite been tweaked yet. So they're going to be updated. So just know that. Also, I've got my headphones on so that I can make sure you guys can hear the sound. Normally I don't deal with sound too much. This Gaudi opening sequence is so good and the sound is perfect. Sound is a big element in games, especially when you want to play them for a long period of time. If you have a game and you want to play it for hours and hours, the sound can make a big deal. I know a lot of those indie games, the platformer types and things like that, they have some amazing soundtracks, and that gives them a huge edge in their indie space when it comes to player retention on the game. I think sound is a really key factor. I've never been massive on it, but as a big Star Wars fan, sound is a huge part of their identity, and it's one of the reasons Star Wars is so big. You can disagree with me all you like. That is what I'm telling you. It's cool that you can see the frames and ping. There might be something outside of the game, but I always love seeing that stuff on my gameplay. Although looking at this, it might be a NVIDIA setup. Sometimes there are overlays and things that show that. This could be an overlay. As your player character, it looks like you cannot take the player character off the board. I'm surprised with that, but I guess that just means it doesn't take up any of your cost. So there are a few things we should take a look at really quickly. So before we jump into it, there is I'm going to call it, I believe the name they were workshopping was Mastery. So I'm going to call it Mastery for now. So that's the mastery over your Illuvials. I guess the player character is default. If you can give them upgraded weapons and things, maybe the weapons are going to cost you something when you're going through the game and stuff like that, but we don't quite know that yet. But you see that in your entire deck of Illuvials, we don't know where the limit stands, but down here you see 22. Maybe that's the upper limit. Maybe that's just a workshop title. But it looks like he has 22 cards in the deck at the moment. And these costs just dictate kind of what Illuvials and how many Illuvials you can place on the board. I do want to compare a few things really quickly though. I don't know how set in stone these costs are or how much they dictate things, but Axodon is is a stage 3 Illuvial, being the evolution of Atlas. And Fury, we got the name for it, so I'm so stoked about that. Maybe that should go in the thumbnail. We'll see. Fury is 45. It's only 10 cost less. That is really interesting. And we can see Furiox down here is 65. So I don't know how much these are going to play a factor. Ultimately, I think the scaling is going to look a bit weird because having 5 Illuvials means 5 Omega abilities, which is a pretty big deal. So I'm just going to keep playing from here. Yeah, as you can see, you can move them around. They have all those hex grids, which are super awesome. This means that all the Illuvials had different sizing and everything as well. I don't believe the cost is going to dictate size. Big Illuvials aren't going to naturally have a higher cost. That might be the case, but it doesn't make much sense to me. Scoriox is 90. So that's really interesting. So Furiox is 65. Okay, yeah, Scoriox is 90. But again, Axodon is a stage 3. So it must be like a T2 stage 3. So like kind of a lower rarity, a lower power. But it'll still have its utility and everything, of course. Help you get up that water affinity too. That'll all play into this. As you can see, you can reach up to 9 waters. Okay? You're going to kind of want your waters to have a lower cost if you're going to reach the 9 synergy boost. I just want to cover these other parts of the UI really quickly. It's got the different stage of the thing. Also the UI, oh, I should bring this down a bit, sorry. That's better. The UI is really clean. When they first dropped a lot of these UIs, when they came into the game and they were releasing leaks and things, honestly, I thought it was really ugly and left a lot to be desired. I am really, really happy with what is happening here. This looks amazing. And there are a few little tweaks I'll make, and I'll get into that later in the video. But this is really, really good. They've done an excellent job. I'm super happy with this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you guys love this as well. But yeah, it's looking pretty sweet. I'm not going to pause it much beyond this, but you can see that you've got the time and the wave, and you've got all the affinities. And that is something I just noticed and I hadn't noticed before, so I'm going to pause it. I'm sorry. But as he was hovering it, you can see it flashing on the left there, so just kind of showing him how it will add to his synergies. And that is a really nice, like, user experience thing to add to the game. As you can see, he's placed the Scarab at the front. I don't think it's Titan Ore yet. But this thing is tanking hits like crazy. And Fury, you can see where it's getting that high cost from. Thing is dishing damage. It's doing like 10 times more damage than its opponent. We actually saw a crit before. I don't know if you noticed that. It popped up with a little 272 and did a huge crit damage. So that might have been the Omega, which I believe is just doing a damage upgrade. And also you can see this here. I'll just move my screen away for a second and I'll zoom in. I'm trying to zoom in. All right. It's not going to let me zoom. That's fine. Axodon generates a 20% max health shield that lasts for up to 5 seconds. So again, you can see all their basic stats down here. It's too bad that I can't zoom. You can see all the basic stats, and You can also see it's a mega ability and everything as well. So honestly, I would like them to adjust how they write this out and make it a bit clear at like a first glance. Maybe they can make it larger as well, but I like how they've done it still. And it's just one of those things that may have to be workshopped a little bit, but that's just one person's opinion. If you guys love it, let me know. But it seems a little bit work in progress. This is probably one of their work in progress areas at the moment. So let's put down Furiox. I'm kind of happy they used the Scoriox line here. Obviously, gives me a bit of pleasure there. Yeah, so we'll just watch it. Again, the sounds are amazing. They're also unique, and they have a very sci-fi feel to them, which I quite like, especially since this is kind of like fantasy and sci-fi in two ways. There's a lot going on here, but they have very nice sounds. One of my favorite parts of the Star Wars franchise is actually the blaster sounds and the lightsaber sounds. It's just so immersive, and that is what's happening here. That thing just roared when it did its thing, and it just felt so good. In Teamfight Tactics, they're all humans, or mostly humans. So you've got a lot of grunts and things like that, which is great, but I like how they've created sounds for the Illuvials. I mean, it's not easy to make up a sound for a creature that doesn't exist. Maybe you can take inspiration from beetles and snakes and things like that, but it's not particularly easy. So you can see that the camera's panning around naturally. He can do what he wants. He can move it around freely to watch the battle, which is something no auto battler has done yet. God knows why. Maybe because they haven't built it from the ground up as much as the Illuvium team has, but it's a feature that will be sorely missed in those games, and might drag more people to be here, especially content creators. It's a pretty big deal for content creators. Makes your gameplay, imagery and things a bit more immersive and a bit less boring as well. So one thing I did notice at the very start is, you see how Fury is 45? When he dragged it off to the side to destroy it, he got the exact cost back. So in the survival mode, you should be able to mix and match your team as much as you can, which means that there's going to be a lot of strategy here. You're not going to end up in a space where you're stuck. You're not going to go up against a bunch of fire alluvials, put your water alluvials down, and then the next round is all nature alluvials on the other side. You're not going to be like, oh crap, I'm stuck with all my water alluvials. You're going to be able to chop and change it as much as you can, which is going to be really, really sweet. And it's going to mean that skill is going to play a large factor in getting to the late stages and getting on top of the leaderboard. If you know the game, all the alluvials and everything really well, you're going to be good at the game. And that's what I like. I love anything with a high skill ceiling, as I'm sure many of you guys like as well. I just want to quickly drag it back to this. So this rogue alluvial here, you can see on the right, it is a rogue. You can see over there, I'm sorry it's so small. But you can see that's a rogue alluvial. What happens is it works like an assassin in Teamfight Tactics. It teleports to the identical location on the other side of the board. And that's where it starts off its gameplay. So you're going to want to be protecting your backline alluvials from something like that. Now, we haven't really seen a lot of these synergies kick off, but currently he has 3 earth alluvials, which is making them all a lot more tanky. And you're noticing this already with Titanor up the front. It's pretty much impossible to kill. And you'll see at the end of this battle that he takes on all 3 of them with very little issue. Well, I mean, Furiox is helping a lot, but still. He's putting up a great front here. I don't know what this alluvial's ability really did, but maybe it blinded Furiox for a bit. If you guys noticed, let me know. I'd love to see. But yeah, there's a lot going on here. It is so awesome. I can't wait to play the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. This demo internal use thing is really neat. Love a good watermark. Who doesn't? Yeah. So Titanor's going again. This guy zoomed out. I don't know if this is the one he loses. He loses at some point. Sorry for the spoiler, if you guys haven't seen this yet. Axodon's going pretty well, but you can see it's not really putting up as much of a fight as Titanor. Their cost is about double, but again, we have that Earth synergy set up at the moment. This game gets loud sometimes, jeez. They can have it coming out to you guys, but it's really loud in my headphones, so I can barely hear myself think. But that's okay. So Titanor won this one. So right now, what he should be doing is, you can see a lot of nature alluvials there. So Furiox is going to be doing well, but maybe selling these two because they haven't been performing so well, and upgrading Furiox to a Scoriox, and maybe adding another fire alluvial would do a lot of work. Or even adding another tank so that Furiox here can be protected for a longer period of time. But I like how they're all spread out. It makes you really think on your toes a bit more as well. It's crazy. They also have 3 empaths. Not too sure what that does. I think it's something to do with shielding. Don't hold me to that. If it's something else, let me know. Maybe I'll make a highlighted comment to correct myself. But yeah. So he's got so many alluvials at the front that don't feel too tanky. So that's a rogue alluvial. You can see it teleport to the end. And even the graphics and animation for the teleportation was really good. A big thing I've noticed with teamfight tactics and its assassins, when they disappear and teleport, they do this weird jumping animation to the back of the board. And sometimes it's really glitchy and buggy and stuff like that. And it's something I notice every time, and I'm really not a big fan of it. So I'm glad they've taken the extra step to improve on it here. And just at the end of the video here, you've got the wave they reached. So they conquered 6 waves and they defeated 18 enemies. And they played for about 5 minutes. Mastery points, I got that right. That was lucky. And yeah, so I don't know what these dots are here. The amount of alluvials on the board, so 4. So it looks like at the moment, 8 alluvials is the max. So you've got to use those points, but you can only have 8 alluvials. So that's definitely interesting to look at. And this down here is actually really interesting to look at as well. It looks like you can click on the different waves, and maybe you can see what alluvials you had and things like that. So it'd be a good way for people to kind of like, not back test, but analyze their own gameplay and what might have gone wrong, how they could have done better, and things like that. So there's some really awesome content in here. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I've gone through a lot. There's a lot to take in. I know that, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed it and really got something out of this analysis and deep dive breakdown thing. And I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to make. Definitely stay tuned for more stuff like this. I'm going to be trying to do this as often as I can. There'll be some of my simpler videos, which is fine. If you guys find this useful, definitely like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit a bell and leave a comment down below. I hope you guys found it useful. See ya. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. I hope that you'll watch that next video up in the top right hand corner. Or don't, but I really do appreciate it. Please like and subscribe down below. I'll catch you all in the next one.